Hello, fellow followers, count the murmuring tribes, count their slain, count the wandering long years. A complete mash of narrative, lore, census lists, the oracles of a pagan prophet, and snakes on a stick. It's time for the Book of Numbers. If you don't want to find Numbers a complete muddle, then you need to understand it's supposed to be read within the context of the whole Torah, especially Genesis and Exodus. In the background of the whole book are the promises made to Abraham, so here's a dashingly handsome fella from a couple of weeks ago that's just explaining those promises.
Genesis 12, God calls someone called Abraham, later renamed Abraham, and he tells him that he's going to bless him, that he's going to make him into a great nation, he's going to give him a land, and he's going to bless him, and through him, he's going to bless everyone else. In other words, now things have spiraled out of control. God intervenes and he says, Abraham, I'm going to fix you and your family, and then through you, I'm going to fix everything else. That's the story of the Bible, right there.
What a guy. The whole point of the Book of Numbers is that God has now rescued Abraham's family, now called the Israelites. He's done the work of rescuing them from Egypt, and now he wants them to start becoming his people, to start owning those promises for themselves, to start seeing themselves as the holy fixed people through whom God is going to fix the world. Spoiler alert, they don't do very well. Promises to Abraham contain a number of different things. Number one, God will make them into a great nation. So in Numbers, we get a lot of counting. 1, 2, 3, 4.63,700 Oh, smeg, I've lost count. This emphasizes that Abraham's family really is a great nation now. But more than that, it emphasizes that each one of them counts, that each person within this family has a role to take within the promises. Also needs to be realized that there's a role to play in them increasing the numbers more directly, through Israelite loving. Number 2, God promised Abraham that he would be in relationship with his family. So in Numbers, we have a lot about the tent of meeting where God dwells with his people. Also, God is in the cloud leading his people. There's a strong emphasis on the fact that God is with them. There's also lots about how they need to be holy and pure and separate so that they can be God's people. Again, notice they're now involved in this. They have their part to play in maintaining the tent of meeting and in keeping the laws that keep them holy. They now have to make Abraham's promises their own. It now belongs to the whole of Abraham's family, the whole nation of Israel. But God also promises to be with them in this, most famously in the Aaronic blessing. My children just came home from school, so I went downstairs to say hello to them and managed to bang my own head on a wall. How do you bang your own head on a wall? Anyway, the Aaronic blessing, which is the oldest piece of scripture ever found. It was found on a brooch from about the 7th century BC with the words of the Aaronic blessing on it. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. I am ordained priest in the Church of England, so you can consider yourself blessed. Actually, does it count on YouTube? Can I bless you over YouTube? I don't know. I'm going to call a more experienced priest and find out. Can I bless you over YouTube? Right, I've got him. Here he is, right there. Hello, Reverend Pete Hamburg?
Yeah, speaking.
Hi. Can you bless someone over YouTube?
You know what? Can I bless someone over YouTube?
Yeah, as a priest, can you bless someone over YouTube?
Well, it wouldn't really be my preferred means, honestly. I'd rather I was blessing someone who was in front of me and, then if I had it on YouTube, could someone else use the same blessing over and over again? I don't think so, really.
You don't think so? Oh.
No.
All right.
I don't think so.
Thanks very much. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye. There you go. Sorry, you're not blessed. Soz. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, that's right. Number 3, God will give them the land. So in Numbers, there's lots about them getting ready to move towards the land and lots about them travelling towards the land. Also, they have to be involved, so they count the ones who can fight. In Egypt, God fought for them, but this time, they themselves are going to be involved in the getting of the land. So how did the people do with all this? Not great. The people aren't willing to take the land when God tells them to, so they end up having to spend 40 years wandering in the desert. They reject Moses time and again as God's chosen leader for them. Even Moses and Aaron fail and are told that they won't enter the promised land. In fact, God has to speak to his people through a pagan prophet who himself has to hear God through a talking donkey. The point being how far God's people have come when God has to speak to them through a donkey, through a pagan prophet, to assure them that he will keep his promises. But each time the people fall short, God's grace remains. For example, they sin and a plague comes, but God tells them to make a bronze snake and put it on a pole, and all who look at it will be healed. God's grace remains. By the way, that's one theory about where we get the medical symbol of the snake. So there we are, the book of Numbers. God bless, fellow followers. I know, by the way, that Numbers also has arguably the first case of genocide, and that isn't easy, but it becomes a lot more prevalent in Joshua. So I'm not avoiding the subject. I'm going to talk about it when we get to the book of Joshua.